All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Mike Wilson, formerly of the Beach Boys. Now he's got a company. He's saving energy. He's going to save the planet. Music didn't quite work out the way you wanted it to. So, Mike, you're the CEO of BrightThings. Tell us what BrightThings does.
Well, BrightThings is solving the problem of, in a commercial environment or in your home, when you're sitting here talking to me, for example, at your home and office, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you've left on. So you're not using it, but it's using energy. So when you think of the commercial office spaces, think of nights and weekends and all the millions of devices that are running, using energy, creating CO2. So people are paying for that, and we can reduce that cost for companies between 30 and 50%.
Nice. Now, so it takes care of the plug load. Kenny and I come from the building automation control side, so we're controlling the big stuff, but we're really getting down to the plugs, and this solves that problem, it sounds
Well, we
like.
think it's the next big thing. You know, we've got lighting and HVAC covered.
Right.
You know, great economies of scale coming down. Plug loads is hardly been touched, and we think that's a good place to do a lot of automation, be able to do cost reduction, and bring efficiencies into the commercial operations of office space.
Well, Mike, speaking of cost reduction, could you kind of quantify that and give our viewers just roughly, when you say cost savings and cost reductions, what are we talking about? 10%, 20% of the energy bill?
It really ranges across the variety of stuff that you're monitoring. So if, for example, you got a high energy device, everybody's got a coffee maker in their break room, for example. So that's costing you about $60, $70 a year in energy. Wow. So if you turn that off nights and weekends, you can save somewhere between 40 and 60% of that cost.
Awesome.
Which is kind of crazy, because at 3 in the morning you don't need to be keeping coffee warm. There's no coffee going on. Or a water dispenser in the break room, it's about double that. So those are just simple, easy to understand places where you can just reduce costs, save energy, and manage it.
Yeah, so maybe put it in another perspective, another framework is, what's the typical return on investment on a coffee pot, for example?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. So here's the device for a high-energy product.
Yep.
You know, basically, the installation is plug it in, plug the other thing in.
Right.
It's connected to Wi-Fi, so it goes through up to our cloud. What we're doing is analyzing your usage. So then we can see, over a short period of time, how that coffee maker, for example, has been used, when people are not using it. And so we come up with an optimized automatic schedule to turn things on and off. So
see, this would never go with Kenny, because he's always the midnight coffee guy, leaving the coffee pot
Well, I'll tell you
on.
what, I love this, and I'll tell you why. We've seen different applications over the years, like take a facility like the Pentagon, where they've got 10,000 coffee makers. One of their biggest things was to control that, and they used to use the old-fashioned mark time timers.
There you
that
go.
were plugged into, and they were very expensive, but they were very reliable, very robust. So one of the questions is, how did you get started? How did you kind of evolve into this technology?
Well, I was working with an association that did energy modeling, and we discovered that there was this big hole in the enterprise, the way enterprises deal with energy, and plug load was its name. And no one's really addressed it, because up to this point, with the artificial intelligence, the advent of cheap, inexpensive electronics, you just couldn't. There was no solution. Right. So now we've got an intelligent solution that not only lets you save energy and turn stuff on and off, but the data you get from this. So I'm going to go to your Pentagon, thank you very much, which is, so suddenly I don't care about energy or cost savings, but I want to know how much coffee, how many coffee makers do we need?
To order.
So suddenly it's an inventory control device.
Nice.
And then you asked me earlier about return on investment. So think of a low power device where it might take a year to pay the cost of one of these plugs off, but at the same time, you know who's using those devices, when they're using it, and then the data we're able to collect brings these intelligent reports in, so that whether facilities managers are able to see how people use and interact with the equipment that they've purchased for them.
Well, the million-dollar question is data. I mean, we talked about data being the new oil, the new currency. And,
exactly.
And you could certainly contribute a great deal of information. What other information can you glean from such a device? I mean, does it have the ability to sense occupancy?
It does. So there's a version with an occupancy sensor, but also when you, for example, look at someone's workstation, we have a clear energy line of, you come in at 8 o'clock, I can see your computers and monitors turn on, I can see when you go to lunch, I can see when you leave for the day. I mean, so the typical workspace is kind of this, flat line. So if you look at that flat line in between where it drops down to just 10 watts, turn that off. No one's there, we know.
That's amazing, well, we just learned from associating with all the folks here and some of the really intelligent people that are taking this information and making it actionable data. You can actually tie this into your building management system.
Exactly.
And so if there's an emergency, you know where certain people are at. This can give you reinforcement of what does your sensor say?
Yep, exactly. So people that are concerned with cost reduction love the product. People that are interested in sustainability, because anytime there's an energy reduction, I can associate that with CO2. I can take it down to the individual employee level. So how's Jane doing compared to John? How's marketing doing compared to sales? How's our San Francisco building doing compared to our Seattle office?
How's this dorm doing compared to this dorm? How's this university compared to this
Right, and it ends up being all about awareness.
Right.
And suddenly people become aware of their energy usage in a way that they've never, with water. Everybody sees a dripping faucet, they want to fix it right away. No one thinks of oh gosh, that's just 2 cents a month.
We need to get you involved in light litter and then take that same thing. So tell us about, you obviously have a passion and you're obviously enjoying the success, but tell us about one of your favorite projects, one of your favorite case studies.
Thank you so much for that question. So we were asking about, we plug these in, people save energy, it's great. Well, we just had a client ask us about those stand-up, sit-down desks, the electronic, and they're planning on buying upwards of 10,000 of these because they're a great idea and everyone loves them and so forth.
Eric has one of those.
There you go. So one of the project managers was like, well, we have a whole floor of them, and we interviewed these people, and they said it was great, so we're going to move forward. And he's like, so if I put your device on 100 desks, I'm going to be able to see how many people actually use them. So over a short period of time, I'm going to get real data that's quantifiable. There's no subjectivity involved, and we'll see how they really use it. So rather than buying 10,000 desks, that 20% or 30% that we don't need, we'll really know what the right number is. So that ends up being a really actionable, very clear value for something that is not actually supposed to be doing that. So inventory control, purchasing, all become part of the data stream that's valuable from this device.
One of my teachers used to say, in God we trust and all else get data, and it seems like you are
there you go.
with the data. Mike, I want to ask you another question. Are you seeing a lot of your corporate clients, it seems like sustainability has become a brand awareness type thing. So for example, Kenny and I have a lot of clients that in the lobbies of their buildings will put energy dashboards, right? We saved, in equating how much they're saving to how they're affecting the environment. Are you seeing that as...
Most definitely. In fact, I was just telling a customer the other day that they were behaving exactly like all of our other customers, and they kind of leaned in and said, what do you mean? And I was like, well, we started talking about money and cost reduction. That was about the first 5 minutes of our meeting. Suddenly we got into the CO2 reduction conversation because cost reduction is obvious. If this thing turns it off and it works, great, I can measure that. But CO2, suddenly I can go back to how much CO2 has Mary saved? How much CO2 has the accounting office? And then suddenly we're envisioning these CO2 counters on corporate websites that roll backwards. And that's customers love that, employees love that, and it's just really a great sort of side benefit.
And the studies we've read have shown that when you have a sustainability plan in place, that your tenants stay longer, you can charge more, and
you got it.
It's a big
Mike, the $1 million question.
Okay,
well,
that's $1 million question.
No, I was going to say, how do you go to market, and then you can ask them how do people get a hold of you. But how do you go to market?
We go 2 ways. So you can come to our website and buy this. So direct sales. We're approaching companies in the Fortune 1000 right now and enjoying some success there. So you can self-provision by going to our website as well. But we also have a reseller model where we bundle this together. So if you're already in a building and you already are doing HVAC and lighting controls, you can take our product, sell it to your customer, and brand it and label it for your own good.
All right, now the $10 million question, because Kenny and I always compete.
I love that. Yeah. Thanks, Eric.
Where's the website, man? What's
www.brightthings.com. That's BRITE things.com.
BrightThings.com. Nice.
Yeah, very good. Well, Mike Wilson from BrightThings.com. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, Eric.
Mike, thank you very much.
Ken, good to meet you.
Yep.